This is the lie that you see perpetuated online about making money. In fact, I think it may be one of the worst lies to come out of the 21st century. Let me break something to you. There is no such thing as true passive income from your business. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to a concept called entropy. Now, entropy states that everything eventually evolves into a lack of order or predictability. Basically, a gradual decline into disorder. And this applies perfectly to business or making money. Everyone has this idea of passive income as you build an online business once and then you're set free for the rest of your life. Well, here's the honest truth. That is a lot of people's reality for a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a year. People do actually live that passive income lifestyle. They build a system and then it provides for them. But here's where the bad news comes in. Remember that thing I just told you about? That whole entropy thing? Well, eventually it catches up to you. Ladies and gentlemen, just like in life, whatever plants you don't water, well, they eventually die. And just like the goose that laid the golden eggs, if you stop feeding that goose, eventually you'll stop getting the golden eggs. Business is a living, breathing organism. And let me kind of take it back down to earth and give you a very tangible example. Let's say you have this idea of, hey, I don't want to ever run out of toilet paper. I want to be so abundant with toilet paper. So what you do is you stock up on as much toilet paper as you can find. You have 9 months worth of toilet paper. And for 9 months, you go about your life and you're like, I never have to worry about toilet paper ever again. Life is great. You are abundant with toilet paper. And eventually you realize, wow, I've never bothered to restock my toilet paper. I'm out. And you come to that sobering realization while you quite literally have your pants down. Well, in a metaphorical sense, that's kind of what passive income is like. Eventually you will come to that place where you reach the same conclusion, except you're caught with your pants down and you're like, I don't get it. The money dried up. This was meant to be fully passive. And that's a cold, hard truth of it. Just like anything in life, you can give yourself a very good run rate and you can do so much preparation so that way you don't have to worry about something for a very, very long time. By the end of the day, if it's something important or meaningful in life, at some point you have to give it attention. Now listen, times have changed and the world is extremely different to what it was like 100 years ago. That said, some business principles are timeless. Now 100 years ago, if you wanted to get rich quickly, and by the way, when I say quick, most people think quick means 2 months or 5 months. I'm talking quick in the normal world is, hey, I made the intention that I am gonna go from nothing to something, go from having average income to becoming a millionaire. Quick is 5 to 10 years. It's not 5 to 10 months. Normally 100 years ago, even right now, if you want to become a millionaire, from the point at which you get your degree, it'll take you 20, 30 years. So trust me, when I say 5 to 10 years, that is a good timeline. Now, I say 5 to 10, but it'll probably be a lot quicker for you. The second route is you work inside of a fast-growing company, a company where you can learn a lot. And you work in that company for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And then you take everything that you've learned and you go and you start your own business in a similar industry. And from there, you add in hard work and you absolutely take off. And you may even bring in 1% the amount of business that the company you used to work for, but that's fine because you have 100% ownership. Now, as I said, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, this would have been the path. The path would have always started with you working at a company or at an organization and understanding that in your early years, you need to prioritize learning over earning. Earning can come a little later, but in your early years, I'm talking specifically here as a student, as a teenager, someone in your early 20s. I mentioned in my last video, there's no such thing as a get rich quick scheme. There's only a get rich quicker scheme. Making money will never be easier, but it can be a lot less hard than you think it is. If you play your cards right, it doesn't matter if you're starting from $0 today. I genuinely believe in the next 36 months, you could have between $1 to $5 million to your name in your investment portfolio. And the way that you do that is by realizing you need money for assets. Build a practical cash flow business quick, one that's remote, one that's lean, and one that provides you free cash flow so that way you can invest in assets when they're at rock bottom. Having a job is not a plan. And in the same way, starting a business that is not practical is also not a plan. This is coming from experience. I spent obscene amounts of money in a couple years building my software company, Agency Flow. If you want to start a business, I would not recommend starting a SaaS company or starting a business that's impractical. Building a new startup or this or that. You need to be practical right now. Remember, you need cash to buy assets. Okay, so you need a business that gives you free cash flow. Now, before we get on to the next point, the other thing that I want to say right now is saving is not a plan. Another thing to mention before my next point, our parents always used to say, save money. You know, you need to understand the value of a dollar. You need to respect money. That is unequivocally not true in this era. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you've looked around, but your own government doesn't understand the value of money. And your government is so keen and so willing to devalue its own currency, it doesn't care anymore. I mean, look, ever since we went off the gold standard, money's just loosey-goosey, it's anywhere. Which to me is also another reason why there is so much money being printed. There is so much money out there. And you're still broke? You still don't have any cash on hand to buy assets at fire sale prices in the next 12 to 18 months? What are you doing? Stop messing around. Get your head in the game. Get your head in the game. So the second and probably most important productivity hack is that I want you to plan the day the night before. Now I know it sounds too simple to be true, but that's why most people don't do it. You know, there's something very special that goes on overnight when you have set your intention. You know, when you go into the day with true intention, when you set your intention the night before, something very special happens while you're sleeping. I've definitely noticed that. Now, it can be as simple as 3 tasks, 3 main things for the day. Now, back in the day from 2016 to around 2019, 2020, when I was really driving the business forward, I didn't have the leadership that I have in my different companies and the business partners and the CEOs that I have in my different companies. I used to plan my day hour by hour. So literally hour by hour, what am I doing? These days, of course, I've got my calendar, I've got my assistant, and things are penciled in. But apart from that, I like to free flow. For me, the most important thing is looking at my calendar, knowing what I have the next day put in place, whether that be important business calls, important meetings, certain duties that I need to tend to. And for me, it's as simple as writing down 3 to 5 things I need to accomplish that day. It's that simple, but I promise you it works. So try it tonight. Tonight, just very simply write 3 to 5 things down tonight before tomorrow starts, and you'll see your brain starts working overnight and you go into tomorrow with real intention. Especially for, you know, the biggest issue that young men have right now, in my opinion, is mastering their sexual energy. Most guys don't know how to master their sexual energy. You know, most guys don't know how to transmute their sexual energy. You know, and I think if you look, and a lot of authors have written about this, why people usually get more career success in their late 30s, you know, even early 30s, or especially in their 40s and 50s, is because they have less sexual energy, or that sexual energy isn't really, you know, channeled in the form of, I don't know how I say this, but I guess in a physical way. Usually their energy and their focus, you know, as I said, really goes away from...
I once went 28 years without having sex.
I don't know. You get my drift. And really that's when, especially men, have a chance to really focus on their careers. Because as I said, most men out there just don't know what to do with their sexual energy. And that's, you know, that's very plain to see when porn is such a massive industry. Guys, you're literally throwing away the most valuable thing that you have, which is your life energy. Now for girls, it's slightly different, but that's a longer discussion. Here's the thing, you get paid in accordance to the size of the problems that you solve. And in order to solve big problems or do things that are exceptionally great, you need to sacrifice a lot of the mental space that you have in your head. So you need to understand the person that makes $10 million a year plus, in fact, even 3-4 million a year plus, they're sacrificing a lot of mental peace that they can have in their head. They have a lot of chaos in their life because it is only through chaos that you can achieve extraordinary outcomes. So for most people, when they think that they want the life of a multi-millionaire, in fact, what they want is they want a life of financial freedom, but not only that, a life of financial freedom where they can actually enjoy it with peace and being present and actually enjoying the fruits of their labor. What you want, and I'm telling you from experience, trust me when I tell you that what you want is not to be a multi-millionaire and spend all this money on nice cars and nice clothes and expensive holidays and all that, because look, I'm telling you, it just gets so boring so quickly. You become so acclimated to, honestly, the pleasure that you get from it is zero. And as I said, the worst part is when you're trying to make multi-millions, there will never be a moment, and I can tell you this from experience, there will never be a moment you can sit on the beach in pure peace because you know that you have 25 employees, or in my case, between all my companies, we're almost at 80 employees right now. And as I said, I can tell you it is very, very, very difficult to sit on the beach in pure peace and bliss when you've got this much responsibility. You should really focus on having a lifestyle business where you can produce anywhere from 100K to $1 million a year. And those are the sort of ranges that I've been able to find where you can actually put the right people in place, where it can sort of run not on autopilot, because passive income is a lie. There's no such thing where your team will just work for you for the next 20 years and you're gonna have no headaches or anything like that. But the point is where you can really put in a system in place and you're still involved, you know, maybe a couple hours a day online available, you know, you're still making decisions, key hires, stuff like that, but without aggressively scaling. You know, even me, I'm in a position right now, we hired 17 people in the last 30 days. I'm starting to bring on people in my company that I never thought I would need, you know. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm bringing on an HR person because of just the sheer amount of employees that I have. I'm bringing on a full-time in-house accountant. Now we have multiple accountants for the different businesses, but I'm talking like a full-time person that every single day gives me cash flow reports and stuff like that. You know, I'm now getting to a stage where I actually need that. Things are getting very, very hectic. So you might be wondering, Iman, okay, well then in that case, why don't you scale your business back? Especially because, you know, a lot of you guys know that I've got over an 8-figure investment portfolio. So I could just scale my businesses back to, let's say, $2 million a year, have my investment portfolio, and I'm basically good to go for the rest of my life. Here is why. The only way that you feel fulfilled in life is by doing difficult things. And I get a lot of fulfillment by building. So right now, at the current stage of my life, I am optimizing for fulfillment. So what is very important is you understand what are you optimizing for in your life. Because I can tell you right now, by the way, in 6 years, I do not intend on working as hard as I do now. If that sounds crazy to you, I mean, sure, so be it. Have to decide how much of your income, no matter how small it is, are you going to put away in order to invest? It really all starts with a decision, whether, you know, you're getting, you know, $50 a week pocket money, whether you have a little, you know, you're 17 or 18 and you have a little side gig, maybe you have a part-time job, whatever it is, decide how much of your income you're going to put away. Now you might be making $50 a week right now because your parents are giving you $50 a week in pocket money. And you might go, you know, if I put $10 away every single week, that's really not going to move the needle that much. You're right. But what happens when you get to a point when you're making $5,000 a week? And that could very much happen for you in your, you know, teenage years, maybe even your early 20s, whatever the case may be. And you for 4, 5, 6, 7 years built up the habit of putting, for example, 20% of your income away. So maybe when you're 14 or 15, you're used to putting $10 away per week to invest. And let's say you land a high paying job, or maybe you start your own business. And as I said, you're making $5,000 a week and you are used to putting 20% of that income aside. That's $1,000 a week. That's a lot of money to be investing. So as I said, the first step here is decide how much money are you going to put away and invest. And think about it, not so much in terms of the amount of money, but in terms of percentage term of everything that you receive, how much are you going to invest? For me personally, I live off of anywhere from 10 to 15% of what I earn. If you guys have seen my breakdown of 2021, sort of like a year in review video, as all you guys may know, I made over $10 million in 2021. So I know some of the things I do might seem like, wow, that's so much money, but it's all, you know, it's all, I don't know what word I'm looking for here. Proportionate? I think so. I would be very concerned for myself if I spent 70, 80, 90% of my income. And a lot of people out there spend more than they even earn. I don't believe in living below your means in the sense that, you know, I see a lot of these like, you know, multi-millionaire people, and they're just like live very frugally and they won't buy coffee and this. I personally just think that's stupid, right? Like this life, you only have one of this life. If you are being responsible and you're only spending 10, 15, 20, even 30% of your income, and you make a lot of money, who cares? If you're investing the rest of the money, you're protecting your future. You know that even if you stop making money for the rest of your life, you would still be good. And now I'll get on to a point that I'm going to touch on very soon. For me personally, I know everyone has different opinions. This life is there to enjoy. Live below your means as a percentage, okay? Let's say in a hypothetical world, totally hypothetical, someone might look at someone who is just enjoys their life to the fullest, like literally doesn't even look at the price tag of anything, and they spend $10 million a year. That might seem insane to someone. That might seem like total lunacy. But let's just say that person made $100 million a year, and that person invested $80 million a year, spent $10 million a year, and put $10 million a year into their savings, okay? So they saved just as much as they spent, and the other 80% of everything they made went to investments. And let's say that investment portfolio yielded them 10% returns a year. From that $80 million, they have just yielded $8 million a year passively from their investment portfolio. So the reason I say this is because someone might look at that person and be like,
oh, you're not living below your means, or blah, blah, or you're financially irresponsible.
I don't think so. As I said, for me, it's all proportionate, and it's all based on how much you make and what stage of things you're at. So living below your means doesn't mean, only shopping when there's sales if you're a person who makes a lot of money. Okay, so just bear that in mind. You know, it's funny, I've started to look at the self-help industry and realize just how much bad it's doing for the world. Like just how astray it's leading people. Trying to tell people, hey, focus on your passion. Let me tell you something, what you're passionate about today, you won't be passionate about in a month. And sometimes your biggest passions in life, when money is involved in it, it doesn't stay a passion anymore. So what you're passionate about today is not what you're going to be passionate about in 30 years. But what you commit to today, you will still be a master at in 30 years. And let me tell you something, when you are very good at something and you know that, you always enjoy it. You may not be over the moon, passionate, elated about it all the time, but you always enjoy it and respect it. And you always want to continue doing it because you understand how much blood, sweat, and tears went into it. So in life, don't focus on your passions. Find something you're interested in, dedicate yourself to it, focus on being a master at it. Now, once you're a master at it, or once you're very good at it, then you can add some other skills on top of it. And that's really where you sort of stack your abilities and stack the portfolio of things that you're very good at. But the main thing is just please stop it with the passion bullshit. The things that you are passionate about should be your hobbies. That's your downtime, that's your off time, because those things can always change. But when it comes to your work, when it comes to your career, focus on something where you hate it for a long time. But it doesn't matter, you stay dedicated to it. This is where I have so much respect for the Japanese culture because I see it time and time again. In Japan, teenagers will come on as apprentices and learn how to make knives, and they will do that for the next 60 years of their life. And I can tell you for a large portion of it, they probably hate it or they find it boring. But it doesn't matter, they find something and they stick to it. They have honor for the craft. And I think that's really what's missing in modern society is everything just needs to feel good and feel positive. No, focus on mastery, not passion. So the first habit that actually made me a millionaire was turning my phone on airplane mode. Pretty much the first 3 years of my business was built pretty much entirely while my phone was on airplane mode. And I'll explain why. You see, most people think that the reason they are not a millionaire is because of lack of energy, like they don't have enough energy or motivation to do something, or a lack of knowledge, understanding, and they think these are usually the two main reasons why. That is actually incorrect in 90% of cases. In 90% of cases, the thing that they lack is focus, because if you have focus, then you will do the work, and doing the work and getting into that state of flow actually gives you that energy and motivation. And when you are someone who can sit down and focus on a task for a prolonged period of time, you will inevitably get the knowledge and information that you need in order to make $1 million. So this is why putting your phone on airplane mode is so important, because ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where there's constant notification, constant distractions. So, most people, the phone isn't enough. Most people have, an Apple Watch with notifications going on 24/7 and their computer is binging here and binging there. You need to reclaim your focus. You should not let anyone rob you of the most important thing that you have, which is your focus and your attention. The next habit that made me a millionaire by the age of 18 was choosing the right vehicle. It absolutely breaks my heart to see people who work so incredibly hard, are so dedicated, but yet no matter how hard they work, by the age of 30, they will never even see $1 million. I mean, really, these are people who sacrifice all of their 20s. And the reason that is because they have not chosen the right vehicle. Now, the right vehicle is one of two things. It's something where either you're paid very well for your time, or it's something that you can actually use leverage. Now, when I say leverage, I mean you can outsource to people, you can hire people, you can build a product and it can sell without you actually being the person to deliver. Now, the business that I started when I was 16 years old, a lot of you guys probably already know my story, and the business that I've been running for 5.5 years now. The business that I started actually was a tick for both of those. It was something where I was paid very, very well. When I started my business, which is an online boutique marketing agency, at first it was actually a creative agency, the first year and a half, and I was paid good retainers by clients in order to shoot content for them and then actually distribute and grow their social platforms. And that was great. But really after the first 9 months of doing it, I was kind of capped out at around $10,000 to $15,000 a month. So that's when I started to use leverage. I started to hire contractors, and I actually repositioned my offer to run ads for online businesses. And that was really when I started hitting the $100,000 months plus in my business. And times have changed and the world is extremely different to what it was like 100 years ago. That said, some business principles are timeless. Now, 100 years ago, if you wanted to get rich quickly, and by the way, when I say quick, most people think quick means 2 months or 5 months. I'm talking quick in the normal world is, hey, I made the intention that I am gonna go from nothing to something, go from having average income to becoming a millionaire. Quick is 5 to 10 years. It's not 5 to 10 months. Normally 100 years ago, even right now, if you wanna become a millionaire, from the point at which you get your degree, it'll take you 20, 30 years. So trust me, when I say 5 to 10 years, that is a good timeline. Now, I say 5 to 10, but it'll probably be a lot quicker for you. The second route is you work inside of a fast-growing company, a company where you can learn a lot. And you work in that company for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And then you take everything that you've learned and you go and you start your own business in a similar industry, and from there you add in hard work and you absolutely take off. And you may even bring in 1% the amount of business that the company you used to work for, but that's fine because you have 100% ownership. Now, as I said, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, this would have been the path. The path would have always started with you working at a company or at an organization and understanding that in your early years, you need to prioritize learning over earning. Earning can come a little later, but in your early years, I'm talking specifically here as a student, as a teenager, someone in your early 20s, learning should always be the priority. So obviously, to build a brighter future, the best thing you can have by your side is an incredible woman. But at the end of the day, most men don't choose the right woman to have by their side. Most men that want to accomplish something big in life don't have a partner that understands their grand ambition and understands that they need a safe space at home. If they're going out and they're conquering and they're doing all of this for their future family, for their wife, at home, it needs to be a safe space. It needs to be a safe, loving, nurturing, caring environment. Or at least that's what applies to extremely ambitious men, which if you're watching this, I assume is a category of men that you fall into. So either men choose women that are too turbulent, or, and I see this a lot as well, men choose women simply based on their looks. And at the end of the day, looks fade. Looks fade, and so does attraction. And I'm talking about some of the most beautiful women on earth. I'm talking your 10 out of 10s. I'm gonna be very honest with you. For every, beautiful girl, 10 out of 10 you see, there is a man at home who's been with that person for years, and no matter how beautiful she is, he's bored of her attraction. He's bored of her looks. And that's just kind of what we're like as men. But so many guys are so stupid and they think, oh, just because she's pretty, okay, cool, she'll be the woman by my side. It's very foolish, because if you have grand ambitions in life, it's gonna get turbulent and you need a good person by your side. And that's really what I've noticed with the most successful men, and for me, the most respectable men that I've ever seen is, listen, if they wanted to, they had their turbulence in the past. Like they enjoyed themselves, they had their experiences, they did whatever they wanted to do. And some men that I meet that I really respect and are multi-billionaires, they've only had one partner their entire life, and that's beautiful as well. But whether you go down the path of high school sweethearts or whether you have your Playboy era, the destination needs to be the same, which is an incredible woman by your side, and a woman that you choose not based purely on looks or, oh, if I go to a dinner party and I got a beautiful woman by my side, I'll have more respect. Because listen, I can tell you high-level men, they don't respect that. I think when I see a guy and he has a beautiful woman by his side and I know that it's just a little bit of fun for him, sure, that's great. But when that's his queen, like that's the woman by his side and she's pretty and that's it, but she has no social intelligence, or they're at a dinner table and she's on her phone, or she just doesn't really know how to represent her and her man, what respect is there in that? So just understand, for the men watching this, and as you guys know, I speak specifically to men, but still shout out to the 10% or 12% of women that watch this. As a man, the most important decision you will make in your life is the woman that you have by your side. So if you want to win at this game, here are the steps. And they're actually kind of jumbled up from the order in which I gave you the 3 things I learned. First things first, find a cash flow business. Once you're done with that, sacrifice. Right? And just know that you're gonna have to roll up your sleeves and you're gonna sacrifice. And if you're not willing to do that, I don't know what to tell you. And then thirdly, start getting invested as soon as possible and write down that number, right? That real true financial freedom number for you.